And here we have our next chapter, the first chapter that's going to go into Thousand Lands, Dark Jungle. This one was kind of a fun little title to do, of making the lettering come out of like holes in the trees, in the trees. You see a bit of branches come out here to help try and fill in stuff and some vines and things like that. So using a negative space to write with it. So here we have Tyria telling the story of the Chinook. This is we call it the Chinook when I was a kid, and my little sister was scared of the Chinook. We scared her really bad once by dropping a coat on her in the dark. And man, she flew. So that's just a fun little reason why this story is in here. The Chinook would be better known as the Rake, I think, with today's audiences and such. Or the Clackety-Clack, I think some people heard it called. But yeah, so that's kind of what that is. And the old sage pops in going Chinook, taking a chance to scare them, and we see here that he's giving them Aurora some stuff so that way they can get out of Furor and escape. So now this is where it looks like he's trying to help them. Alright, however, what he's actually trying to do is get them away from the Furor-Allmeyer conflict, so that way basically she can hide and he can know where she's at, so he can try and study her and grab her at a later time. So that's just a little interesting thing of what's going on here about why is he helping her? It's for his own gain. And we can see here I'm doing a jitter color brush again on the branches. So Tyria's getting the lowdown from Cerebrity about what's going on, and kind of how things work. As they travel, and they come here to the boat where they load up and going to go sail to get in. Coursey sail to get into Thousand Lands. Now, side note, that's a babble. Thousand Lands, the trolls and stuff are really fun to draw. I have a lot of fun drawing them. I'm just coming up with all the different kind of hair colors and styles and different piercings and tusk shapes and things like that. I think they're one of the more fun groups of people and civilizations. So yeah, that's just an interesting thing here. And we see that the paperwork to get in were that he ran, of course, a tavern, what else would Sarah Verge want to own? And I can't remember, but these were the serving wenches. So that's about how well that went. Which Tyria insisting that she was good at her job. Aurora's not too thrilled, but yeah, so just kind of some fun there. This joke will come back later, like way later in the story. But so that's just a start point for it. We come out here as they're selling out. One of the fun things I like, again, with the Thousand Land ships, is just coming up with the different designs instead of kind of the full sail. They got like these half-mast sails. I don't know what it's called, kind of like a half-fin, something that you see on a sailboat, as opposed to a old sailing ship. They got these nice, fun colors on the boats. It's good. And here in the background, you can see Allmeyer. This now is catching up to them, and they got the more classical, full sailing ships and such. Surprise! I'm not too good at drawing boats. So Aurora's just kind of sitting there. Listen, I'm wondering if she's going to have to get involved or do something or not. Listen now, and as the Thousand Lands, everyone's panicking of what is Allmeyer trying to do? Why are they heading out here? We see them firing a cannon and missing. So Thousand Lands, they're fighting back and they're returning fire. So a little difference where Allmeyer have cannons on their ships. Thousand Lands use these big slingshot devices to flank pots at their at enemy at targets and such. This was just a way to try and differentiate them on a technological level more. And once again, kind of tying into Almir's the only kingdom to have more advanced technologies such as firearms. And so to kind of fight against that Thousand Lands uses these big slingshots with clay pots. And you can see that they got like fire bombs in there to help set stuff on fire or set water on fire. Stuff burns. So decently formidable. Listen now. And they deploy smokes to hide their escape, and so they got these nice smoke jars that they can drop off the boat to create a cloud and to hide in. So overall, I like it. I think I like it. Obviously, I should. I think it's fun. I think Thousand Lands, as far as naval combat goes for them, I think they got some interesting devices that they deploy. And so we see everyone's kind of hiding out down here and is grumpy about what's going on. And of course, you got a bunch of Thousand Islanders having to share a boat with two people who they think is from Führer, only one of them. And they just got attacked, so they're not too happy. They just got attacked by Omar, so they're not too thrilled with what's going on here and different stuff like that. We can see this guy here. He's got fire hands. This ties into that Thousand Lands is their main big theme with their kingdom is that they they're able to use magic. They're a very magic-based kingdom, so it's not terribly uncommon to see spellcasters and stuff there, or among them. So they come and dock, and our heroes are tied up in the stocks to keep them from running away or causing troubles. Which we've seen how well prisons are able to hold Aurora. They don't last. They don't work too well against her. And so we got just a guard coming in, a captain coming in to interrogate the prisoners. He gets a message, and it isn't too thrilled about what it has to say. Once again, circling back to it's just Thousand Lands are fun to draw. You got just kind of this disc for a breastplate as opposed to a polar chest piece, and kind of got this longer beard going on, his big tusks versus his smaller tusks. So just the visual difference between them is a whole lot of fun. So he comes and basically says, change of plan. They're going to be given a chance to prove themselves to Thousand Lands, that they're going to be given a trial. Now this right here, I forgot what it translates into, but I did, courtesy of Google Translate, get this changed into Hawaii. Wrote something out that had to translate itself into Hawaiian. It's basically kind of like a rite of passage there. And we can see here just from these nice little, wall illustrations of the trial, and it's just carrying a vase of water up to the top of the mountain, watering a tree, getting a fire from it, and coming back down. So a fun little detail here that I don't think anyone caught on is this little spiral in the chest. This little spiral here shows up in a lot of different places. I think it might even be on the Thousand Lands flag, but that basically represents some spirit. So a lot of magic users and such will have this spiral somewhere on them, and that kind of indicates that they're a magic user, or that they're very, I guess you could say, in tune with the spirit type of thing. So we see Aurora is being given her escorted out, given a jug of water, you got a nice view from the trees here. I like these leaves. There's the mountain and told to get a move on. And so she does that. Now, something to note story-wise at this point in time is Aurora isn't actually powered up. So she's having to essentially go through this trial without her super strength or whatever. There's no real reason why she's depowered other than this is just kind of like to be a learning lesson for her. I say a learning lesson. She's not depowered because of anything that the Thousand Lands did. It's more of she's just happened to be kind of tried by the light or whatnot to how to describe it. Basically, go on a journey of self-discovery along with this trial. And so she's shocked that she's tired. It's been a long time since she's been tired like this. So she's kind of hikes along, and we see that she's being followed by this guy in the tree. Moves along, just thinking to herself, listen now. And she drops the water and spills some of it. So that's not entirely good. Listen now. And so she's looking around, she sees this river where there's no way to cross. And it's kind of getting a contemplation about should she fill up the water or not, and decides no, better not do that, better keep going. And so here she is, she's having a dream about her little, I guess her light power, just as it sits out apart from her, surrounded by fire that gets put out, but the light's still there. Some small little details, as we can see that it's in black and white, except for the strands that the light touch, that becomes colored. And she sees the monkey guy, the guy that's been following her out of the trees. I'm doing a little bit of a Rahiki dance there. So he jumps off, leaving her behind. And we see that he was either waking her up or to warn her, or drawing in a boar that gouges her leg with snorter, let's call it. So she tries to use her powers, of course, nothing. So she has to fight without them and get a rock. Is able to get a hit on Snorter, and so he runs away. And so she's finding that more and more that her powers really aren't there. She's putting it together. So she decides that despite not having her powers, and you need to make a move on and keep going, fixes herself up, ties the jug to her so it's easier to carry, and carries on on with the trials. I'm going up the mountain, crawling along the edge and the cliff and different stuff like that. I'm shimmying along some pretty close spots. And we get a nice high view up here. So she makes it to the top and we see the tree. And it has a whole lot of flowers. So she splashes with little water is left in there. And takes one of the flowers to head back. And when she does that, her powers return. And basically comes to the understanding that that she'll never be able to choose for others, but she can choose for herself, and she needs to make the choice to help others. So kind of a realization of kind of what, how to put it, I guess, a restoration in her faith or her purpose. I think it's a nice little story. So we just cut back to her making it back to the town. And the ceremony begins. We got drums, different stuff as she goes, presents the flower. Oops. And we hear the cling-a-ding-ding of something happening. And here we've done it. We've reached 1,000 pages. So this is 1,000 pages of Gratz. And here we have a little illustration of Aurora in a $1,000 top. We had got Red making another appearance since first time I think since they've been seen since the Solace stuff, or any of these characters have been seen, but he used to make an appearance, kind of a joke that they're stuck back way back at the start of Gratz. And as a note, there are actually 1,000 pages here. I think I made a stack of 10 and then copied and pasted that and just shaded it differently. But yeah, so there are actually 1,000 pages there. And as a note, we can also see my setup. I don't have this chair anymore. I wore it to the ground and it broke completely. I think actually back part of it broke and I fell over and almost knocked my computer and stuff onto the ground. This was a little black card table I had at the time to work on. We got my laptop here where I use all the keyboard shortcuts and my monitor that I have hooked up here so I can actually see what I'm doing. And once again, my actual digital pen sitting right here that I draw with. And of course, the back of my head. So yeah, just a 1,000 pages. Woohoo! I've narrated 1,000 pages now. So moving on. And so now we're back in the story of Boogie Troll. The troll that was following Aurora comes jumping over the fire. She's, huh? And he does a little dance as he walks down the stairs. The dance is supposed to be based off of the, what was it, like the, way back with the WWE, the Boogeyman, kind of his intro little dance thing that I remember seeing at my friend's once. So his dance is kind of based off that, with him shaking his arms and stuff, wrapping the little bells on them. So he takes the flower, holds it up, everything is quiet, looks at her, and then places it on her. And he gives a shout, and everyone shouts that she has been accepted by the tribe and proven of her worth. So that's kind of what that whole thing was about. And so now we see, we got the mask up here on the shelf and a similar helmet. And we see that the guy with the spirit, one of the spiritual elders and whatnot that was following her was to observe the trial and such. And we find out that there are steps kind of with the trial, that it doesn't really matter how much water you pour on the tree. It's just a matter to test your honesty, as he kind of explains here. That you're not going to cheat and just pour the water out partway through, that you're going to go all the way through. You're not going to fill it up at the river. So the river is a deliberate, I guess you could say, trap almost to tempt people into filling it up there. And so it's basically a test of honesty that it's more important to be honest, an honest member of the tribe and society than to be, I guess, a strong one or fast one or anything else. But honesty is the key. And we also see here that the captain, that the leader was his dad. And so his dad's messing with him, but just kind of getting in his business and different stuff like that. So we got cut away here to the Thousand Land King, who's had a dream. And while I don't know if I've ever explained it, this is actually supposed to be his wife, who's a high-ranking priestess, kind of in the religious side of things. And so he's telling her dream, looking for an interpretation. And he doesn't know what the meaning of this dream is, or what this dream is supposed to mean yet. Alright, so Nightmarchers. This was another, I guess you could say, a scary-ish story. It wasn't really intended to be that scary, just a little scary adjacent. The Nightmarchers actually ties into, I think it's Hawaiian legends of the ghosts or the spirits of warriors that go marching, and you're not supposed to look upon them unless one of them from the ghost ranks recognizes you and calls you by name. I think that's roughly it. But anyhow, so yeah, so this was I think it's a pretty cool legend or whatnot. So this is kind of formed the basis of this story. And so we start off with Sarah Verge going through a bit of testing of his own with the locals who see how he holds up. And so it's fighting, and he fights dirty. He's a tough guy, but he's a tough guy. He knows how to take a hit and how to return one. So, and how to be really aggressive in a fight. So Tyria, she's enjoying the show, and Aurora's trying to talk to her, and there's not much going on. And so basically, Aurora drags her off to so that they could go spend some time together. Now, functionally, what this does for the story is I wanted to really, how to put it, figure out how Aurora and Tyria connect with each other. Because I knew it's pretty easy to figure out how Tyria and Sarah Verge work off each other and connect, and Aurora and Sarah Verge. So I needed to close up this triangle with Aurora and Tyria. How do they interact with each other and such? So this was a story just to dive in and figure all that out. Oh, we got the 5 years page. I guess it's been a while since we've seen one of these, but yeah, this is only 5 years of Gratz. I guess I'm going back to this Aurora's sprouting. Got the Gratz colors, gold and white. So that's what's going on there. And so we have them kind of talking and getting a chance to know each other. And just slowly working on that. We can see here me trying to experiment more and make background colors and characters. So kind of that's what's going on. That's just a little interesting development there. I guess rather than just the silhouetted shapes, we now have it kind of blocked into colors and different stuff. So just a little interesting thing there. And so we get Tyria's idea of a plan of them getting dressed, getting, as she says, all pretty, and going to finding some guys to dance with, which Aurora drops at the end there. Now, this is, interestingly enough, was to justify a slight artistic change I made from this page forward. That you think of how often I shift art styles around, I would just do it. It's not even a big one, but what it tied into was adding, I guess, thicker eyelashes to Aurora, and I don't think I've done them to Tyria yet, but I should. Because up until this point in time, Aurora has had just these lines going down for her eyelashes. And it's at this point, particularly this panel, that they have changed to these little winged eyelashes. Tyria's are still lines right now, but do know that changes later. So we go here, and listen now, we can see her spouting the same eyelashes, so that's just something. Go talk about staying at the spa. We got them relaxing. Now, I should point out that I'm aware that you don't get dressed up and then go to the spa. At least I think that's something that you don't do. But like I said, the whole purpose behind that was to justify why I changed the eyelash style. Something that I'll later just do. So yeah, so that's just some detail as to why that happened. We got them talking some bit thoughts on Tyria about what was going on and kind of. I mean, what do you do when you meet some divinely empowered person? How does that change your perspective on things? And so we got them drunk and laughing, and a joke about Aurora's flashing tendencies. And so then we got, looks like someone's broken into this house. What's going on here? And so they go in to check it out, see what's up. We see Aurora, just making a light, and so not everything needs to be bombastic. And they hear these drums. And so much like, I guess, with any good scary story or whatnot, we have these drums far off in the distance, but a sound of something, of a danger that's not yet seen. And so they think that it might just be coming from the village. And then we go in and we find a Resident Evil reference, as something has eaten the cat. And we get this troll zombie or monster. So kind of a fun thing here that I wish actually I don't wish, but that I would probably go back another time and change. And that was come up with a better troll skull that go on this thing's head. So we got them running. Let's not out. Jumps down in front of them. Aurora ruins her new dress thing by kicking it in the head. And then gotta go back in. Gotta get away from that thing. Yeah, but no. Kind of tying into some fun design is taking the concept of the troll tusks and making that into like I guess you could say, a vampiric troll. It wouldn't just have, sharp vampire things, but no, its tusks would say curved downward and be shortened up more, so to help it bite into stuff. So just kind of a fun idea with that. But like I said, I'd probably better learn on how to do a skull. So we have them. Listen now. Aurora being drunk and not making the best judgment calls. Just delaying for a chance for the monster to come in at them again. This is, again, just kind of fun thing toying with the anatomy of a troll versus humans. So instead of having instead of having just sharp claws, we do have just sharp claws, but they only got 3 fingers. So making the claws a little more beefier and chunkier for grabbing stuff with. So that's kind of just a thing you see. Cut off its arm, then run away. And we hear the drums again, wondering what's that about. And I think they're slightly larger in this one, meaning that the drums are getting closer. And Aurora and Tyria get to have a little talk, a little heart-to-heart. And we got something here that I guess really kind of leaning into Tyria's character. That is, she's not a fighter. That unlike Aurora and Sarah Verde, she doesn't have fighting experience. Even by Führer standards, she's rather small. So that and her being a female, she never went through the same training that any other Führer male would go through. And size-wise, she's not even big as Taurans go. So for her, fighting is very foreign to her. It's not something that she's been able to do a lot of. So, kind of continuing on. We're being good and supportive of Tyria, that she's still valuable, and this allows the monster to catch up and attack Aurora. And so we see those nasty teeth, tusk fangs going to work as it bites into Aurora. Tyria, she's still going. She's clever, so she's not just going to go up and hit it. She grabs a rock and smacks it across the head, and that's only going to daze its liking it being a monster, and it takes a slash off her. But this gives time for Aurora to get free and pop the sword, a stage 1 sword, which I can't remember how often I draw the sword nowadays, but yeah, it's there. I like this panel. Just I like the coloring on the sword and how the grass blades are a bit in front of it, and we got kind of the lightning now forming more of it. My lettering is starting to change around that. I think by now today with Gratz, I think the actual lettering I did is I get rid of this this extra glow around the lettering. Keep the black edging on it, but also replace any S's with Z's in it, so it gives a nice sound as opposed to a sound. So just changing up in the onomatopoeias there a bit, working more on the style. And so we just get a cutaway and see that Aurora had cut the monster in half, but if we remember, it lost an arm. Now it has 2 arms, so is that going to work? Well, we'll find out in a minute here as Aurora patches up Tyria, who this is the first time she really took an injury like this. And Aurora, she does a good job. Won't even leave scar, patches up. It feels weird though. And we see that the monster is not dead. That it's able to heal itself as we get this. Perhaps one of the few, gore things that I managed to draw decently well. As it starts to regrow its legs, and we hear the drums again, this time really close, and we see it continue to heal. And the drums keep going, and then we see the source of the drums, the Nightmarchers. And this is just kind of a copy and paste, but kind of for their armament, I gave them a spear and a club, tying more into I guess it was like kind of a tribal armaments for fighting rather than something like swords and stuff. And we can see here that they have a full-faced kind of helmet thing, which I really do like this design. I don't think I use it anywhere else, but I do like this helmet that they wear. It's got the nice feathers on it. And they begin to march. And they march past Tyria and Aurora as they're not after them. They're after this abomination that is a affront, I guess you could say, to the warrior's honor as they take it away. So after that little thing, we have the kind of Aurora and Tyria talking about just how strange the world is, or big it is, and how many different things there are, and collecting a tired, beaten up Sarah Verge, who he's also had a long day. So we get the cutaway now to this ship that's just kind of drifting at sea, and we see a little canoe come up to it. Some people board on it, and then the canoe sails away, and that's it. So we won't yet know what that's about, but that is something that's going on that indicates something is happening elsewhere. And we have Aurora here. I suppose I said before we go into why Aurora is here, dressed differently. These rocks, this was a different attempt I did at trying to draw rocks or inside of a cave. And yeah, that's fun. I think I looked up some pictures of inside a cave and then used that to get my general shapes of these rocks. And we can see I'm doing more of the lines in the background, but coloring them so they don't stand out as much. I'm along with this nice, heavier cell shading in the environment. So yeah, just a fun little detail. But now coming back into Aurora, what's going on here? We see her just doing some stuff before, she starts to change. It's not Aurora, it's this elf again. And kind of talking about how there's nothing that seems odd about Aurora, that she looks just normal. a normal torn body, as she said. So this ties into way back with Street Stalkers. The person that cut Aurora with the decorative dagger is actually, as we found out, works with Iron Jaw. And her name, because I'm real clever, is Morphe. And how basically stuff that she cuts with her dagger, she's able, or draws blood on, she's able to copy them, or copy their appearance. And so we see that that is what's going on here, that she took an opportunity to copy Aurora so that they could try and figure out and learn more about her. All right, Bowl of Wills. So this, I guess we can see my shadow work wasn't done quite that good here, as we can see these outlines around the shading I tried to do. So I think I do know I improve upon that. This might even be the chapter I improve on it on. But this was, I don't know how entirely to describe it. Just an attempt, I guess, at a more stylish chapter page, as well as them being in black and white, but the bow being in colors. So now we move on. We have Taria learning to fight as she practices against Aurora, getting a rear smack, and failing to do an ambush on her by being super obvious. That's a bonk right in the face. And we meet the old guy from back from the dark jungle that gave Aurora her test. And he's just given some advice and here to ask them for help ask them to help a friend in need. And we see their friend coming over the hill on a big golem. Alright, so the pygmies, as I called them, are, listen now, based on, I think I already said this earlier, but I'll say it again, they're based on, I think it was Hawaiian legend as well, of these small hairy people that built like the walls and different structures in Hawaii, and they would do it overnight. So this is kind of a play on that idea, where they are small and very powerful with magic. So we can see here kind of that an effect that, well, they are small, they always wear masks, certainly hairy, they don't speak, I guess you'd call it a understandable language, but they use magic to just kind of infer meaning to the people that they talk to, so that a person who listens to them will be able to get the general idea of what they're saying. And along with that, they have just these big golems that they'll typically use for different things. So we'll get to see those used in the warfare and the destruction and even boats and such. So I like them. I think they're one of the fun little things. They did end up replacing gnomes in Spirit of Adventure, because why do I need two small super intelligent people? Just need one of them. So that's just kind of where the pygmies come from, and they make up the second inhabitant, or primary inhabitants of the Thousand Lands. But I like them, they're fun. So we got Tyria and Sarah Verge listen now, just kind of talking. Tyria and them kind of finding out more. Tyria's trying to figure out what she's going to do, because she still has her gun, but she needs something better to fight with. So we got Aurora out helping do some stuff. He meets the sage, who is going to ask her about who seems there to ask her about something, but really he's just figuring out what she's up to, and now that he knows, he just scampers away with it. Don't worry about it. So those are the games he's up to. Funny side note. I suppose I'll talk about it here. My favorite types of plants or trees are smooth bark, big leafy trees. And so a lot of Thousand Lands, I enjoy the vegetation there and just getting to draw that. So that's just been something really fun. I think it's been one of my favorite environments, actually. And it's probably the one I've done the least of. So we see Sarah Verge helping Tyria out with a contraption of hers as she reads and he does the manual work. And Tyria shares about some of her thought processes and ideas of how she's going to improve her weapon. That is by taking a gun and making it into a spear. So that's just kind of where her head is at. Side note here, these palm trees, about how to do some easy palms, is it's actually I have the spacing set on my brush a bit, so it creates these nice lumpy shapes to them. And then I get rid of the spacing and just zigzag my brush across in a darker color to make the lines. And I'll give you some decent looking palms for a background. So that's just a fun little side note there. And we have Aurora checking on them, and Tyria's asleep and snuggling with her gun. Sorry. Virtuous Tyria. Virtuous Tyria. No, not virtuous. Tyria's not virtuous at all. Virtuous Aurora taking a look at how Tyria's been reading and find that she reads smut. So she's gone away, just leaving Tyria to her smutty dreams. So that's kind of a way to differentiate Aurora and Tyria more. Was just in that respect. I suppose I don't know if I've explained it yet, but one of the things at this time I was really trying to figure out is how Tyria would be different from Aurora, but also kind of in addition to that, what Tyria brings to the table. That is with Aurora being more, I guess you could say, grown up and more of a leader now and stuff like that. A lot of, I guess you could say, the spastic humor that she used to have has gone away. And so Tyria really brings that back into the story. So that's part of the reason for including Tyria, is to bring more humor to it. I think she ends up working out pretty well. I think that the addition of Tyria really elevated the Gratz duo into Gratz trio and took the story to new heights. So that's just been, I think, a really fun thing. It's really weird to look at a time of even before there was Tyria. So we have them boarding the boat and talking. We see that the pygmy ships, that they use a golem up on the front of it, which we'll get to see that in motion in a bit here. Literally in motion as a pygmy activates it, and it swims, kind of dragging the boat along, looking like big paddles. So we go on and we get to the jungle rats, which I think I describe as being just really big rats. That see they got this nice big poofy tail on them, makes them look a little more unique. Tyria hunting with her gun, whereas Sarah Verge and Aurora poke around in holes and stuff, trying to fish them out with sticks. And we can see right here on Tyria's gun, there's something now strapped to it, which we'll get to see that later. And so after a day of hunting, they start to come back, and we meet this guy from the boat again, out there. He's just kind of out there, and they go to greet him, and soon Aurora gets shot, and Sarah Verge tries to get people on the roof, get them to cover and such. Now, small detail here where we can already see this in effect, but if we look at his eyes here and here, we can see that the light highlight is missing from them. This is to imply what's going to come up next here. And that is that people are, I guess you could say, mind controlled if the light is gone from them, that they're not in control anymore. So that's just a little visual clue from the previous page that something was not right with him. And you can see kind of that Aurora, she just gets up and walks to this person here, who we don't know this yet about her, but she's of course a bad guy. We'll find out who else is she going to work with. For her, I think call her Amora or something like that. Basically, Amor? Gosh, I can't remember now the spelling of it, but to be enamored with a person. So that kind of ties in with her that she wants people enamored with her, so she has this bow to control them. And once again, we see kind of an effect of scarring. She's missing the tip of an ear here, and it's got a scar on her face. I don't know what this red paint is or something like that on her. I can't remember entirely why I went with this color scheme, but I did. And we can see that she's gotten a lot of people under her control. And we see, once again, this guy here that grabs Taria to bring her out. Once again, he's already unstuck, so he's under her control. But Sarah, he's not messing around, so just takes him out immediately. A nice knock to the head to just shut down the person, so they wouldn't be that useful. Got a bit of a standoff as they escape out the window. Sarah and Taria go running and slide into a pygmy hut. With Taria not quite making it in, she's not quite as nimble as Sarah is. So she comes up short, so he grabs her foot and yanks her in to get them safely inside. And you see everyone go running by as their little hidey hole has worked. And people run past them. So, trying to figure out what they're going to do, and what Sarah is going to do is going to go into sneak mode. So we can see the hood popping up once again, tying into kind of that visual illustration of how do we show that Sarah Roger is sneaking. Well, he's got his hood up, so now we know he's going into sneak mode. So we cut away here with Amora, having her guards and a pygmy servant treat her. Well, she tries to figure out how Aurora's powers work, and we get some nice humor here with Aurora just going flip, and trying a line of questions that Aurora answers, but that doesn't make any sense to her, to Amora. Amora. This is quickly becoming a mess. Kind of explaining how the powers work, and Amora not understanding it. And so it's kind of how well her interrogations are going. She's not finding out much about Aurora. Now, tying into why Aurora's powers aren't working is much like when she's severely, I guess you could say, depressed or sometimes intoxicated. It goes back and forth about this, depending on her level of of how drunk she is that her powers are attached basically to her spirit or her will. And so with the arrow in her, it suppresses that, so she can't use her powers, meaning that she isn't particularly useful to Amora in this state. So that's just kind of a thing tying into that the powers aren't biologically related, they are spiritually related. So we have Taria held up here, hiding under a blanket behind some stuff with a gun at the door, ready in case trouble comes through. Sarah Verge out looking for trouble. Out trying to figure out what's going on here, and sees a little pygmy. Amora having Aurora treat herself. Gotta rub those feet. She works hard, I guess. Put that in parentheses. She clearly gets everyone else to do the work. We see Sarah Verge has pulled an arrowhead out of someone and Tyria's fallen asleep as the nights kind of move on. So we now have Sarah Verja returns and explain kind of what's up. That these arrowheads are what's controlling people that have been shot from the bow of will, and so he's gone around and just yanked them out. And as we can see, it doesn't particularly matter what arrow is used. It has to just be an arrow fired from the bow. So we see 3 different arrowheads here. And so Sarah Verja's work is, we just yank arrows out of people, and that solves it. So we see Mora being entertained herself by making 2 of the pygmies fight. And Sarah Verja, he squares up and is ready to draw attention. So of course, Amora, thinking that Sarah Verja isn't going to hurt his friend, sends Aurora after her. And so we see that going on. We get a nice little Aurora charging with this nice bat weapon. And we see here that Sarah Verja has tied his swords into their sheaths. So we get a fight in between Aurora and Sarah Verja. One of the, I think, a few fights when they go against each other. And so we see that Sarah Verja buckles her knee, buckles her other ankle, causing her to drop, so she can't move. And Sarah Verja just acknowledging that, I can kind of go a little bit rough on you because you can fix yourself. So he whacks her a couple of times, knocking her out or putting her down. I do kind of like this visual idea. I guess I could say, of kind of the dual strike that Sarah Verja does just in rapid succession there. So I do kind of like that idea. And puts Aurora down. And so Amora gets ready to try and shoot Sarah Verja, but is stopped and has to take cover when Tyria is out there, now covering Sarah Verja and taking gunshots to keep Amora in check. And so we see that the arrow has been removed, and Aurora is waking up. So we now come to the next morning. Aurora is feeling sick and just kind of she's doing better now. Tyria is there to help take care of her. Aurora's healed up and waking up, and Sarah Verja is asleep. He's had a long night. And so now we see that Amora is part of Ironjaw's crew, as all 4 of them are together, and they kind of go over what they know about Aurora, that her powers are not related to her can be copied through her physically, nor are they able to be channeled around her. And listen now, I'm trying to remember what to sing with that. Her powers are affected by physical restrictions, so she can be incapacitated, and her powers shut down, and that she's very tough. And we see, who do they work for? This shadowy guy right here. Now, this kind of ties into a couple of different things. We can see kind of this glowing eye here, making this shadow look nice and sinister. Of course, I've already said a couple of times, but the sage is a bad guy up to no good, and him being at the start of this chapter just helped kind of remind people he's still around. His blind eye matches up with this eye here, and it's kind of tough to see, but we get the implications through the outlines here of kind of like a vest with some claws coming off it. Originally, he had a different design when he was going to be evil that I guess would have been more intimidating looking, but I ended up dropping that. The other clue that we get that it's this sage is kind of these lines here indicating his sideburns. So let's take a quick look into the comments section. doesn't look like anyone's guessed that quite yet that this would be the sage. But yeah, so that's just kind of what's up with that. Tides of Fury. So this is kind of where our story gets back on, I guess, track, or starts moving forward really again. Some cool details hidden in this one, this title page. We of course tides with a water fountain and the fury and fire. We got Aurora's cape jacket here in the background. We see the Allmeyer ships coming in on the island with a big fire thing behind them, kind of showing the, I guess, storm or danger that's coming. And this little light here on the coast. So this is the title page that gives a lot of, I guess, clues as to what's going to be happening in the story. So that's just a little different and unique from what I've done in the past. So we start out with a nice day at the beach. I mean, you're an island, you're surrounded by water. What else are you going to do? And so we get just some fun practice with me doing trying to do water effects and stuff, and a brief Tyria swimsuit design. I had to come up with this design just for, maybe not this page, but this part of the story. So this gets changed later, but that's just kind of a funny little detail there, that this is the only time we see this design, and that's because I really didn't actually design anything for her. And we get everyone asleep or relaxing in the sun, showing off their tattoos. That's kind of why Aurora's flipped over, so we could see her mark. We hear the drums coming, and everyone starts to run. Everyone starts to run. Everyone starts to head back, and now people are running, getting ready for the troubles to come. We see the soldiers deploying, and here we can see kind of that marking again that I told you that kind of represents the spiritual mark or the magic mark, so we can assume that this guy is a magic user. Let's see now. You see here that Aurora, that's Server and Tyria looking for Aurora, kind of worried about what she's going to do. And Aurora is kind of angry, upset about what she's supposed to do. See her not really breaking a tree, but putting a sizable crack in it, and kind of deciding that she needs to help. That's what she needs to do. And so she goes off to do that. We got Servage and Tyria going back and forth, kind of talking about their thoughts on it, about how Servage knows that Aurora wants to help. She's a good, kind person. She wants to protect citizens, but she doesn't want to harm people needlessly. So he sees that conflict in her. And Tyria gets ready for her first fight. Deciding that, you know what, to protect someone else, yeah, that's a good enough reason to cross that line that she says. So we get Aurora walking out into the light with her cape jacket back on. Now this is a good chance to kind of explain some elements of her character. I'll say some elements of her character design. But going on with the last few stories, she really hasn't been wearing her jacket all that much. And that was intentional. She was kind of laying low and hiding and not really being the hero as much. If you think back to the last few stories. So that's kind of why we have these, I guess you could say, close-up panels showing her armored up again, and the jacket cape, which I can't remember because I've been doing this over the course of a few weeks, these recordings, if I explained it or not, but the jacket cape that she has is really meant to look a lot like a cape and kind of invoke that superhero idea or imagery. So that's kind of what's going on with this. So we got people loading on the boats trying to get out of here. So now there's not a whole lot in terms of defenses that Thousand Lands have on their boats. I say on their boats out, but in this island, because typically Almire can't get out this far. So they are trying to make do with what resources they have. And we got some of the ground forces lined up, trying to protect the land in case of Almire land. And here we have the Almire ships coming in. And so got the Almire ships lining up, kind of blocking the, not so much the harbor, but this lining up to what looks like block this inline here, but we'll find out quickly that that's not what they're doing. What they're doing is forming a firing line to unleash a bombardment on the beach and destroy everything there, which absolutely works. So, yeah, this is just a lot of cannon fire, a lot of smoke. Yeah, I guess it's an idea. And we see just the fire going on continuously and even more fire. It's like, how much fire do they want? The answer just memes, yes. And so we see that as the smoke begins to clear, that the Almire are deploying landing boats to land on the island. And we can see down here on the beach where the tree line has been absolutely obliterated, that a lot of the Thousand Land troops were hiding in. And so we have them, Almire, storming the beach, taking out what troops were able to survive the bombardment. And the troops that did survive are trying to desperately fight back. And we see like a magic user effect here, a pygmy trying to work a broken golem to get something out of it, and 1,000 and more troops just just trying to get together and form some kind of fight. Now, small little detail here. As you can see, looks like I forgot the spiral tattoos on him. And so I can't remember now if I ended up dropping that or if it got dropped because I forgot a lot about it. But one thing that does continue is the mask paint, where red is for kind of your warriors and such, and blue is for your magic users. Kind of tying into the strength of the flesh and with the red, and the strength of the spirit with the blue. So that's just how that details continue on. Got Almire forming a firing line, and Aurora drops in and pops a bubble shield, protecting what she can of these troops to stop them from getting shot. And we got them amazed at this, and we got some craters. I like these craters. Went and looked up some impact craters, some explosion craters from artillery and stuff to try and figure out how to draw those. So yeah, that's just a nice little thing there. And we see all of Aurora's got wings popped and is ready to make a move. So she goes zipping in, returns fire of her own, and starts getting in fights, taking some damage, dealing a whole lot of damage, and is now fully into the fight. You get this nice little double-heighted panel kind of showing that off. So now Sarah Verge getting people who are shocked to see Aurora to get a move on, and I guess the fight's got to happen. And so that's just kind of that, just Tyrene and Sarah Verge are trying to organize a fighting force back in the tree line, while Aurora is trying to hold off the Almire and mess with their advancements. So we see her, zipping along, slashing up people, sending those that are alive still back. It's now her doing just kind of a nice little charge thing, blocking the shots with her wings. I think this might be one of the earlier times that I really leaned into making her wings more than just some kind of light fixtures on the back, like they are in the with Avenging Wraith and WoW, and more of actual wings, so she could like bend and move them and different stuff like that. I think this is where I really started to play more with that idea. See them taking cover and just holding on. We got a view from the Almeyer's ship as the commander is trying to watch what's going on and radio artillery, and we have Aurora coming up doing a nice little splash wave kind of tunnel effect on the water as she comes zipping across it and smashes into the side of the ship for breaking out and just slashing through the big mast tear and tearing through the ship and taking out the commander. Or I should say, a commander. We got Taria here taking her shots at the Almeyer as they approach. Deploys her little makeshift spear by popping out the knife contraption that we've seen on her gun for a while now. So we actually get to see that in effect and make it the deployed bayonet. And knifing someone which she isn't exactly thrilled about, and fails to notice Almeyer coming right at her. So then we cut away to Aurora, grabbing a rope and doing a nice little swing thing to launch herself, kind of tying into that she can't exactly fly with her wings, but she can certainly hover and glide with them, and maneuver quickly with them as she zips around. So using that momentum to launch herself up into the air and deliver a Nebeker ring, destroying the front half of the ship and really just sinking it immediately. So this was just, I thought, I once again kind of like this page still quite a bit. It's kind of the momentum of the action as we see the setups and then the payoff to remove the ship. See that Sarah Verge is here to save Taria, and he doesn't stop. He keeps going. So he takes out this guy, aiming at her before leaping over the bush and taking out the guy that's coming up behind her before really going to town with his knife, and then getting Taria back into safety and avoiding being shot. He's having quite a day. He's moving around. He's got to move around fast and do a lot of different things. So we've got Aurora taking out the ships as she moves along and slices open the side of a ship, capsizing it. And she's destroyed 3 of their big bombardment ships, it looks like. And sees that Almeyer is being driven off and leaving. And so now she needs to disappear. So we got I like this, just kind of her hovering there underwater, deciding how she needs to get back. And then so we go just from like she's standing there to just zips off into the distance. And we get to use the water to kind of see that trail. So that's something nice. I like that visual. Listen now, Taria is a little embarrassed. Even in the heat of battle, she can still get shocked. And Aurora Sarah Verge plays dumb that he doesn't know what that light is, so he's asking them what they are. And Almeyer is setting up some defenses on the beach to try and protect themselves from Thousand Lands counterattack, which, they could just sit on that beach. And Thousand Lands get out of here. So Aurora goes about trying to disguise herself, clean up her hair, hide her bloody clothes. You can see like her pajamas and stuff in there. Clean up her injuries. It's fixed. Radies the bag and make a big scene about how she was back here in the village the whole time and everything is ready to go. So that was kind of the start of the but the real leg of the Almeyer invasion into Thousand Lands, which Aurora has now also thwarted. So she's thwarted the invasion into Führer and the invasion into Thousand Lands. And we'll see the ripple effects from that story later. We'll see the ripple effects of these events later on in the story. So we got
kind of a damage report and find out that Almire has been moving into Thousand Lands and taking islands and such. As the king listens to the report and is not exactly happy with how things have turned out. Alright, Wanted. So I'll admit, this isn't the most interesting title page I've ever come up with. Got your see right here where I missed part of the paper to remove that for the tear. Just simple. We just say that Aura is wanted for murder and she's surprised by this. Nothing more. So I guess let's get into the story. So here we finally make it to our first real capital of the story. That's not the center island, and we got just this, and it's just a massive thousand land, or kind of, I guess you could say, fortress city. So kind of tying into some different stuff there. Obviously, a lot of Minas Tirith influence here with just kind of the multi-walled design and this big, almost kind of pyramid-looking thing kind of going up the mountains. We got the cities here kind of tying into the different parts of the wall. How the city has a lot of walls. So we got like this structure being built here that actually hangs kind of down on the wall and such, creating multiple stories. And these nice big cloth things providing shades for this part of the buildings and such, and just the different terraces in the city and stuff. And we get a nice view here kind of from the top looking down. Now, a lot of influence, or I say a fair amount of influence, actually came obviously from Minas Tirith, but also from some Aztec cities I was listening to about the time with kind of their cities having these big farms on the water around and stuff. Real interesting stuff to listen to. So we kind of see that influence going on here. And once again, my enjoyment of water works in structures and such. So we got like water that flows up here, or comes down from here, flowing throughout here, continues down into here into different lakes. We got trees and then rivers along here, and then out into the sea. So it just kind of flows out from the top down of the city, and we get just kind of I'd say perhaps one of the largest cities I've ever done, and I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. Just how I feel like we get a really good idea of just how big this place is, with just all the different buildings along here, different fields here, lots of buildings through in here with lakes and such. Down here, yet even more buildings and more down here, along with fields and stuff on this level. So some other interesting details kind of here is we can see along the walls that the housing doesn't quite reach. I think this might be the only wall actually section. No, we also see it here. That the housing doesn't quite reach the wall, and we have the space in between. That is intentional, actually. So that way, if the city is attacked and you fall back behind a wall, you can station like troops and weaponry and such on the wall and fight over it. So that way you don't have the housing right up against the wall to mess with your troop placement and things like that. So that's a very intentional design, leaving spacing there. And other fun things like that. So yeah, I really like this city. This is one of my favorite cities I've done. I haven't done too many, but this is certainly up there. So I guess moving on, I guess we got more to share about. Like, we can see close about these fields. I've been farming with them, and like I said, I'm kind of working the fields that would, from the Aztecs, that would float on the waters and could be cultivated. So we see Taria asking Aurora about Sarah Virgil and what does he like, and Aurora kind of struggling with that. She doesn't actually, let's say struggling with realizing she doesn't know a whole lot of what he actually likes. It's just kind of a weird concept to point out that I've never really established in this story of what does Sarah Verge like? All right. What are things that he enjoys? He really doesn't have hobbies, and kind of neither does Aurora, unless you count her doing good as a hobby, in which case she indulges in her hobbies a lot. And so Tyria goes off to form her own plans of how to thank Sarah Verge. So we got Aurora here having gone to stage 2, feeling the effects of that, and just going to go to sleep. And wondering what Sarah Verge does for fun. So we cut to night. Aurora's asleep. Sarah Verge is finding a letter from Tyria. So this is, of course, just a font that I use. Usually for handwriting stuff, I'll use fonts. It makes it easier to read, and don't get to see my terrible handwriting. But that art is custom drawn. So that's just a little thing there. And we get to this building that I'm trying absolutely to make look fancy. So got like colors, some gold on it, some big golden light dishes. As like a fire would be lit in here with the reflecting edges to make the lights go up. Trying to make this place look as fancy as possible without actually knowing anything about what a fancy building looks like. And so we get this scene of Tyria trying to, I guess you could say, seduce, but reward Sarah Verge. Doing a bit of the slave Leia stuff, and we get just this, say terrible, but funny look with her trying with the lipstick and such. I think it looks funny looking at it, but yeah, so that's a thing. Really trying to show her dressed up, and actually we can see on her eyelashes that I've triangled them out, much like how I've did with Aurora's way back a few chapters ago. Now I've finally done that for Tyria. And so, see them laugh and have a good time shrinking. And, yeah, Tyria, wanting to get freaky, and Aurora, and Sarah Verge, shutting her down. And we'll find out here that she doesn't have. Well, she doesn't have to do this. Now's not the time for that. That she's not at fault. She still has value, and that, as he says, that she didn't do anything wrong and that everything is okay. So, trying to emotionally stabilize her, so she'll, I guess you could say, quit being erratic. And I guess you could say in a lot of ways, listen now, try and, how to put it, not take advantage of her. I think is the way to put it. Be considerate and make sure she's in a good headspace. So we cut away from that little freaky show to get to a even freakier show. As we come to just these random people sleeping, hearing someone in the house. He goes to check it out. Come on now. And gets got. And then she gets hit, and we see that it's Aurora was now causing trouble. So we see now Aurora waking up in the night for him, causing trouble, maybe. So she's had a good sleep, being comfy this morning and changing up a look. So this was something, I guess, it's 1,090 pages, so it's been a long time, but I had planned to change the character's appearance more frequently in Spirit of Adventure, but it took a really long time for this first change. And I went for a different attempt on this one. That was for her jacket, to try and get rid of the tails on it, and make it kind of go back more to the more vest design jacket, or shorter jacket that she had in the Solace trilogy. Also, the big boots are gone and replaced with more simple boots and such. But yeah, so this is just her character's design, and I think this is one of 2 times that I tried to do the jacket that wasn't long, and it doesn't work. So, spoiler, this design, I've tried it here, and I tried it another time years later, never gets it to work. So, I guess that's just visually one of the things with her. She needs to have her jacket cape. So, we see Sheriff Verdre and Aurora meeting up, and a little cameo way in the background there. I'll check in a minute, see if anyone noticed that. But Sheriff Verdre's like, yeah, I missed out on an opportunity. He's conflicting with doing the right thing, and glad that he did the right thing, but disappointed he did, I guess, get to appease the natural man, as the saying goes. But so that's just kind of the position he's in, as they just kind of talk and find out what they're going to try and do next. Let me see now. Yep, doesn't look like anyone pointed out the red and green cameo way in the background there. It's been a while since we've seen them. I think we've only had one cameo from Red for this, and that was at the start of the Solace trilogy. And so, yeah, cameos from the original Gratz crew aren't real common, and I think Red's done 2 of them, and Green's done 1 of them. And that's, I'm pretty sure, all of the cameos. So that's just kind of a fun side note. So we see this guy. This is actually a detail that doesn't really matter, but he's out delivering wanted posters of Aurora. So that's just kind of a fun little thing that doesn't factor into the story at all, but that is why he was drawn there. We see Tyria has also changed up her look despite being introduced relatively recently into the story. Wanted to create some more visual interest with her, so changed up her top a little bit. That cough I really needed, so that wasn't just me being a silly. To create some more visual, like I said, interest on her and such. So I gave it a green stripe, and they're just kind of talking about different stuff and going around looking at things. Tyria just trying to get her mind off last night and figure out what to do next when Aurora gets jumped by the guards. And listen now, as Sarah just said, same garbage, new flavor. So, yep, they can't go anywhere without getting into trouble. But this time it's a little different. This time Aurora's been accused of doing something. So we come here into the prison, where this being more of the mainland, the Major Island, they have more metal here, or access to more metal, so they're using chains as opposed to ropes. You can see the armor on that they have more bronze armor and such, and we see that they're planning to move Aurora to a more secure prison, and she still doesn't quite know what's going on. So we get that going on. We got a nice, more warlike golem being used here to move the cage. Listen, we got some of the guards kind of wondering about where and why they're taking her. And so this one's confused as to what's happening because he doesn't seem to really understand what's going on. This is to kind of tie into that things aren't quite right, or not quite as they seem. So we got this guy not understanding what's going on. We got this guy telling him don't ask questions, and we got this guy suspiciously missing some light from his eyes. So this is all just to tie into kind of the idea as a whole that things aren't right. Listen, now we see them taking a turn here, and Aurora getting worried. And when they move along this little cliff edge here, we can see this device being set up here before an ambush is popped, which this captain promptly kills a soldier. The pygmy is killed by Sting swishing up over the cliff edge here. And we have kind of to reveal that it's Ironjaw's crew that is up to this as he comes through a portal. It's kind of hard to see, but we do see the portal here and the trees where they were hiding, from the spot that they were hiding way further back in the jungle. We got Amora, Morphe, who was disguised as the guard captain. So we can kind of see we've got the cape and the sword in her hands, still kind of green, but the fingers are back. So this whole thing was an ambush and plan set up to capture Aurora. And the prison is deployed that as she tries to, the trap is deployed that as she tries to move, she gets shocked. And so it's best just to keep still. And Ironjaw explains how everything's been going on, that they've gradually been learning about her and setting up a trap as they decide that they have to capture her because they can't get anything from copying her or mind controlling her. So she has to be taken prisoner. And so this just kind of gives a wrap up of what's happened over the last few chapters, but over the chapters and how it's all come together. So this kind of marks one of the big turning points in the story, and that was kind of Ironjaw and Ironjaw's crew and Aurora, and kind of the greater plan surrounding it. Instead of greater plan, this greater scale of what's been going on around them. And he explains that yes, it was Morphe posing his word to commit a crime to get her arrested so that they could get her all alone, and to reveal that the Ironjaw's crew works for the Sage, or the Old Sage. And so this is, like I said, kind of the big reveal where he's gone from being a odd but potentially friendly force to, no, he's a bad guy. And Aurora realizes that she's been tricked and wants to know who he is. And we find out more about the Sage that he's really, as I think I've explained him, just kind of a tinkerer. He just wants to know all that there is to know, and kind of gave up, but just over time just crossed so many lines, learning to do anything. And so that's it. I want to say that's it. So he's kind of a bad guy. He wants what he wants, and you're not going to get in his way. So we see Aurora and him kind of argue back and forth, and Aurora decides, she's going to she's just going to endure the pain and break free. She ain't going to be held captive here. As she breaks the chain, and we get the sword kind of forming along here. I'm trying to go with a little different bit more form. We see the blade being formed from the lightning gun bolts along here. I think this is the only time I've done this because it doesn't look that great. She forms the sword as she swings it, cutting through the roof to throw up a hammer and take out the cliff, causing a rock slide. Listen now, as Aurora collapses after taking quite a hefty bit of damage, and saying that despite the Sage trying to learn all he could about her, the one thing he forgot that he didn't learn or implied is that she doesn't quit or give up. And so we got just this massive rock slide hitting down where Aurora was. And I kind of like this rock slide, a lot of dust and some nice boulders in there and such. So we cut away to the remains, and it's night, and Aurora trying to get out of the rocks, having taken quite a bit of damage and injured, taking time to fix up her top a bit, so she's not streaking again. So that's just kind of a funny little detail there. She thinks about what's going on. It's just kind of how she's upset about what's happened. And feels that she's alone before realizing, nope, she can. There are still people she can trust. And she's got Tyria and Sarah Verge that have been following along, looking for her. So they even brought a change of clothes for her, and she changes into them here. I probably maybe could have kept the change in style for after the rock slide point, but I didn't. So she got a new style at the start earlier into this chapter, ruined it, and immediately gets a replacement set of clothes for it. So yeah, that's how well my writing works. Now we have him get hit by Trinks, and as we see from up in the trees that Tyria and Sarah Birching aren't the only ones that have been following Aurora. So we could hear that Aurora's went from being captured to escaping to being captured again, as she is woken up with some smelly sticks at the foot of the king and his shadow hunters or guards. I'm not entirely sure what to call them. So this is the only time we see the shadow. I think the only time we actually see them. The special forces of the Thousand Lands Kingdom. They wear a distinct mask with black paint and have black feathers. Some details that there is actually a bit. They also got the spiral tattoos on them. So some details around with them is that the kind of going into a bit of the lore, some black hunters. I try to call them I'll call them shadow hunters. Is that they are they are very much specialized in both physical combat and magic. So they kind of have mastered both classes. And the masks they wear are actually enchanted to kind of change their form. Actually, the whole armor says to kind of change the form to make them all look identical. So this is just kind of a copy and paste with them, but it also kind of ties into making them impossible to tell apart. That's just kind of making them hide and interchangeable and such. So Aurora kind of tries to. The king wants to know what's happening, but Aurora is there to. She tries to give him a lie, but it doesn't work. He knows that she's lying, and she gets thrown to the ground. And when she's thrown to the ground, he sees her tattoo that he rudely pokes at. So he tells the guards to leave, and they do. I like these guards. Don't use them. I haven't really used them. I like some of the design, how they have like the 3 short blades on them and different stuff like that. So the king drops down to have a one-on-one with Aurora and find out who she really is. So she tells him the truth. And the king kind of is deciding what to do, because he has had if we remember, a dream about the light that he held, that he released, and it brought peace to the world, but he lost the light. And so Aurora, now seeing that he's willing to let her go, she just gets out on her own, and he tells her that he'll let her go, and that his shadows will show her a secret way out so that she can escape and do what she needs to. That his dream, basically she does what she needs to, and as he says, his dreams have never led him astray, and so he's followed them for now. He's not going to stop doing so. So we have the king meeting with I guess with his wife, the priestess, and to help him interpret dreams. And he just kind of explains that he hopes he has fulfilled the dream, and that he is part of the dream, and that the rest will be fulfilled later. And so this kind of, judging from that little thing here, this kind of marks our semi-end of the cutaways a bit. I say semi-end, but a shift in our cutaways where we don't got a real long cutaway here before our next chapter. We don't see what Almire is up to. And so, yeah, that's just kind of this chapter served as a major shifting point within the narrative, because, like I said, the old sage guy went from being a kind of ally of Aurora's to now being a source of a lot of, or revealed as a source of a lot of her problems. And so it's kind of from this point on that Gratz shifted directions. I don't want to say shifted directions a bit, but changed up its pacing a bit with its narrative. And so kind of everything from the start to now would mark, I guess what one could call the first leg of Spirit of Adventure.
Alright, so Voyage. So Voyage kind of marks up it's going to mark up most of the trip back to the mainland. But just talk a bit about this page where I went and learned a new way of how to do water, like the surface and such on it. So we can see that down there. We can see a bit of gradient being applied to it. We can see the water again up here in the title with a nice watery font, and we get to see the mammoth of a ship that our trio gets to travel back in. So let's get on with it. Let's get this voyage going. So I tried to do a very different palm tree here, with the large kind of overhang back out into the sea, Aurora relaxing, trying not to be seen as she still wanted. Tyria and Sarah Verge coming back with a whole lot of bananas for the banana tusk. And them just kind of explaining that there's currently no way off the island, but Tyria has a problem with it. A solution to the problem. And that's going to be turning Aurora into a tugboat. Just a nice little detail. We can see the waves breaking off the coast. So we got Aurora tied up to the boat, and Tyria spouting an actual swimsuit design for her. This is actually the one I designed. It's just green with leopard print. That's it. We see more of that water. We see the ship. We see Tyria relax, but Sarah Verge sure something's going to go wrong, so he's going to brace himself. And sure enough, goes wrong. Too much tension on the rope, snaps the rope, flips the boat. So we see them trying again with a thicker rope. Tyria, she's an engineer. Failures happen a lot, so she takes it in stride and is used to that. Just kind of a fun detail. We can see her hair is wet now and hanging down and flattened a bit. Listen now, and basically Aurora wondering where these ropes are coming from. Sarah Verge is like, yeah, we're not stealing them. We just need them. So, Aurora decides to accept that, and as a reasonable answer, they set it off. This time the rope holds, except too much acceleration and causing the boat to skip along because the slack wasn't picking up gradually, so just yanked it. So Tyria, she's ready for round 3. This time, get embraced. She's not as carefree as she was before. Sarah Verge getting that failure out of the way, so that the third one will work, which is a gradual acceleration and sliding out over the water as the tugboat Aurora takes them out. So they're just kind of floating along. I mean, when you can only travel at the reasonable, I guess, drift speed of Aurora, you got a long journey ahead of you. So Sarah Verge and Tyria talking and bothering Sarah Verge. To which got a nice little bit of humor here that Sarah Verge admits that, yeah, he's always going to lie to Aurora, possibly. Tyria wants to know more about some stories about Aurora, so threatening, don't make me turn this boat around. So yeah, just a bit of humor. We've had some intense stories, so some humor to break things up is I think warranted. So they made it to so you can see here that they made it to the next island, and we can see the capital out there in the distance, and these islands are very close together. Have Sarah Virgin being grumpy. Listen now that Aurora is pushing herself too hard, and so they go, go to settle down for the night. Sarah Virgin being grumpy. Taria's trying to figure out what's wrong with him, and he doesn't want to really talk about it too much, except he says a whole lot. And he's mostly just, at this point in the story, upset about how people keep using Aurora, and about how she wants to do good, but bad people keep using her, and he's just getting really tired of it. So you see, Tyria trying to, I guess you could say comfort, but help Sarah Virgin that things aren't that bad. And we get a slight shift into kind of Sarah Virgin's personality of he's now trying to avoid he didn't take advantage or get it when it was easy from Taria, and kind of see that he's trying to be a good person now, and just kind of to influence that Aurora has had over him. So we come out now to rowing a boat as they go on their travels. We just get a bit of a nice little travel montage. We're able to see Aurora's tail sticking up here, so we know she's in the boat. Just visual storytelling. So, yeah, 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. Just had a major cough coming on. Still getting over being sick. But hey, work's gotta be done. I'm taking shelter from the rain. I'm trying to get some food. More sleepy Aurora, and Aurora dragging the boat. So just a nice little montage of some different stuff of the travels. So Sarah Virgin spots something, gets them into shore, tells Aurora to get them into shore quickly. They get the boats, scrub the trail, and Sarah Virgin has spotted that Allmeyer is nearby. So we can see the top of an Allmeyer ship mast poking up there. See here me doing the jitter colored brushes on stuff that's much closer on bushes here, where I'm doing the more block coloring in the background. Even get a little bit of humor to some extent with Tyria. Got some leaves on her head to help hide her hide. And just some back and forth talking about what they're going to do. So Sarah Virgin, hood up, it's sneak time. So he's sneaking in and is investigating to find out what's happening, and kind of what's going on. And we see that the Allmeyer are disposing of stuff in a fire. So Tyria and Sarah Virgin talking less now about it. If Sarah Virgin's okay. We see here I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do the brushes. So we got kind of the jitter stuff here in the grass. We can even see it up here in the trees. The jitter combined with the block coloring shading going on in the background there. So we can see me just still gradually trying to figure out changes in how I do the background. And this is where we get a bit of, I guess, onomatopoeia storytelling, where it sounds like Sarah Virgin is back, except we have paid attention to Sarah Virgin at all in the last, 1,000, well, maybe not quite 1,000 pages, because that was a while back, but since the Solace trilogy, he doesn't make noise when he sneaks. So this is someone else. And so that's just some kind of clues that this isn't Sarah Verge. And so we see that Tyree and Aurora have captured someone, but they're unsure as what to do. Sarah Verge comes back, grabs himself a bottle, and find out that they had captured a Allmeyer that had wandered away. And Aurora is letting Sarah Verge know, no, you're not executing him, right? No executions. So we'll see what's going on. So Sarah Verge decides to, so they decide that they're going to interrogate this Allmeyer soldier to figure out what's happening. And so Daria and Aurora are hiding because, they're from Führer. That wouldn't make any sense. So instead, we have Sarah Verge here. We can also see that he doesn't got his guns. And so there's nothing that would look out of place to this Allmeyer soldier. A nice hot stick in the foot to help wake him up. We got some questions going on. We got some questioning going on. We got the nice little cutaway panel here. So that way we can see Sarah Verge's face compared against this guy. And we get kind of Allmeyer's idea of, well, why are we fighting? How do we end this war? I like how that spear splintered with it kind of peeling right there instead of a clean break. But yeah, so that was just something there. And so we kind of see that from the Allmeyer perspective. They think that, well, it's because our enemies aren't educated. And if we can educate them and help them think, then we can basically attain peace through knowledge and enlightenment. And so we'll see this visited later, much, much later in the story. But we do get kind of another rare sight of a troll kid, kind of what they look like. See, they got smaller tusks, not yet grown in, but the ears are still disproportionately large and maybe a bit floppy. So that's just kind of a funny idea that the kids have really large ears compared to the rest of them, and that they're floppy. And so we see that this guy is, just really trying to sell it to Sarah Verge. Of course, he's trying to sell it to absolutely the wrong person. So Sarah Verge puts him down, which just messes him up more than a little bit. And Aurora and Tyree have to see what's up with that. So now they know why Allmeyer started this war, and that is Allmeyer believes that they're going to try and bring about a permanent peace by educating their neighbors and helping them see the errors of their ways. And so we see that Aurora is getting a little bit of a devilish plan of her own. And that plan is to further stop the Allmeyer invasion. So we see Tyree and Sarah Verge having a bit more conversation about what's bothering Sarah Verge and kind of what does this all mean. And we see that Sarah Verge, he knows that the fighting and destruction and stuff, it bothers Aurora. She's a good person and wants to help people, but she doesn't have the callous temperament, I guess you could say, that Sarah Verge has. So, these things take a toll on her. They add up. Whereas with him, he's already, I guess you could say, broken her enough or doesn't care that those things don't get to him. But he still has a soft spot for Aurora. So the suffering that she goes through, that does bother him, and that gets to him. And so we can see that, he struggles to communicate sometimes with that. And that, maybe he shouldn't be talking, well, not that he shouldn't be talking to Tyree, but maybe the person he really needs to talk to is Aurora. So, nice little bit of character drama in the story. And so we see the Allmeyer ship launching the Aurora missile or torpedo. Actually, no, it would be a missile because it's not underwater. She flies along the surface of the water, and direct hits sinks the Allmeyer ship, sinks their battleship. And so, stranding these Allmeyers on this island, and see what's going to go for them. So they move further out into the sea, traveling at night, and we get a bit of an interesting, just kind of little thing about the ocean at night. This kind of, I'm going to say, ties so much into a real phobia of mine, but something that, yeah, I'm kind of not a fan of the deep waters, like big lakes or oceans and such, just because you don't know what's hiding down in there. So we get a bit of reflection of that. They are out at the sea at night, and so it's really hard to kind of tell where things are and what can be lurking beneath you. So yeah, so that's just a little bit of fun insight there. And so we get a bit more of another montage of them selling, of them do some travels, hiding from Allmeyer as they move closer to the mainland, and set up another place to camp for the night. And obvious Easter egg is obvious. This does actually translate into something. This was a custom kind of coded font that I made just for this. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter now. Like I said, no one I saw translated it, but obvious Easter egg is obvious. So yeah, if you want to try and translate that just for fun, it's page 1131, A Way to Sell, in Spirit of Adventure. So yeah, there you go. There's something to do if you are so inclined. Alright, Yellow Smile. So this was another going to be fun story that I did, and it tied into it's based off of a little story I wrote for a friend in WoW for their birthday, which basically entailed not a real item in WoW, but a piece of equipment called there's the Stern Mug. And it's one that gave intelligence and spirit on it, so it's called the Disciple Stern. So I wrote a story about a magical monk mug that never empties and gets you drunk, and kind of an adventure off of that. So this is based off of kind of that idea called the Yellow Smile. And this one I went with as opposed to being drunk, more of intoxication, that's still drunk, a hallucinogenic impairment, and so we'll see how that gets administered. This was fun, just coming up with different wild colors for the characters and keeping them, so you can see the yellow became a green for the hair, but the tan or the light tan fur color for Aurora became a purple, and the white became a yellow. And kind of like her tongue and her gums became blue. So while it's not really a true inverse of the colors, some of it is the opposite of the colors that they are, and others they're just bizarrely adjacent to. So it's just kind of a massive shifting color hue. Color scheme with stuff. But yeah, let's get into this fun little story. So we have, Terry, we hear, she's cheer on Sarah Verge, so we see a bit of some fight on that abuse going on. We can see her, the flowers actually getting shaken out of her little bush pom-poms there. She does a little cheer for Sarah Verge, but we can see just kind of as the fight goes on, it doesn't quite work for Aurora. Sarah Verge is winning before Aurora breaks out the powers and beats Sarah Verge, to which, Tyria, she wants to be on the winning side, so she makes sure to change her tune. So a couple details here is there was a little animated GIF of a anime kind of cheer thing that I based this off of just to do some practice. And get try and get down some better posing and movement. We can see some kind of hints of a couple different stuff here with Aurora rubbing her backside. That much like how she smacked Tyria on the butt during their sword practice, Sarah Verge did the same to her, to which she didn't quite like. So she got her with a flash of light. That's kind of blinding him, hurting his eyes, bothering his eyes quite a bit. This also ties into kind of another little detail with Gratz' Spirit Adventures in particular, and that is kind of in the trio of the power dynamics. It's because Aurora has her Archon powers and the strength and different stuff like that. Her fighting technique is actually pretty poor. She gets by on her powers a lot. Sarah Verge has no power, so his fighting technique is very crafty, but also very good. He has some really fast reflexes and such. And so, in a stick battle between Aurora and Sarah Verge, where Aurora can't use her powers, Sarah Verge will win. And this just kind of goes with all the powers. I mean, all the stuff in general that Sarah Verge is, I guess you could say, well, not deliberately said, but chronologically speaking, a better fighter than Aurora. However, Aurora, because of the powers, is stronger than Sarah Verge. I mean, so that's just kind of some character details that's just being not even really shown here, but implied through onomatopoeias and such. Yeah, so that's just kind of a little interesting thing if you ever wondered who would win in a fight, Sarah Verge or Aurora. Well, Sarah Verge would win unless Aurora is using her powers, then Aurora is going to win. And so we got them talking a bit more about that. That's now Aurora trying to deny that it wasn't really cheating. And we have Sarah Verge coming up. His fishing trip successful. Listen now, and he actually agrees with Aurora that don't fight fair. He's a rogue. He doesn't believe in fighting fair. But Tyria, coming from Fury, she I guess has a culture of where the people of Fury, they respect a fair fight, or agreed upon fights, and so we see just kind of that part of culture for upbringing coming out. Let's see now. So we kind of get to see that. A bit of details on the fish here, kind of tying into some fun, interesting stuff. I went with kind of the rule of thumb in nature, and that is if you have an animal that's brightly colored, it's a warning not to touch it. And so we can see these fish are brightly colored with some blue spots and blue fins on them. So that's kind of what's up with that. That those are some indications that these are toxic fish, but they don't understand that yet. And so we cut away to the cold opening, or the cold wake up, with Aurora feeling sick and some strategically placed bushes around her as she sleeps in. I think I'll call this. She sleeps in the strategically placed bush plants. She wakes up, sees that the camp is gone. Her clothes are gone. She's streaking again, and we get this. I like this blue actually. This blue code flashback into what happened. And so she's trying to figure out what's going on. That's the last thing she remembers, and now she's here next to the strategic plants. So she fashions herself on a dress so that out of the strategic plants. Strategic plants are continuing to do their jobs. And so we see her deploying them. Get kind of some munchy sound, something eating. Not singing, not seeing anything. When she's trying to figure out what's going on, we hear more munching. And I turn around to see this little lizard. So this little lizard guy, along with the story of the disciples' stern item that I wrote to my friend, I gave them a pet, I think it's a proto drake whelp for the birthday. So kind of the story about that proto drake I had going on there, included in that story about them munching on the person's leaf covering as well. So that's kind of, I guess, a predecessor to this story. So yeah, I like that story. It's a fun little thing. And so we cut here to, I guess, this iteration of it. We got our proto drake, our little lizard, our leaf muncher, here in the background. And he's a cute, happy little guy, and apparently a very hungry little guy. So we see that it's holding on to Aurora. It seems to like her. And she thinks she's sending it away only for it to come back and show her messy shirt, and kind of give Aurora the first clue as to what happened. I guess you could say the flashback. And so we get the wild colors in her flashbacks, kind of showing that this is when she was intoxicated. And so we got green is now yellow, yellow is now green, green is red. So we got two. So we got greens going to two different colors here. This just kind of showing further messing with the appearance of things. And Aurora tries to signal for help in the strategically placed bushes, which is good. Which works out. As the lizard goes to sleep, and she goes to sleep, and she's kind of realizes that, well, probably going to need this lizard to help me. Mostly to help me with stuff, but that we were involved with this together. So part of my responsibilities now. And here we are, 6 years of grads. Now, someone pointed out that they thought that Sarah Berger was flossing. He's not actually flossing, but I've never explained this in the comments section. I guess if anyone cares, this would be in the comment. Cares to listen to this far to the comment area, they'll find out this is actually a still grab from Konosuba, one of the openings. And that's kind of the dance that they're doing there, just from that. So that's just kind of a fun little detail that no one caught. Yeah, there's lots of little details that I put into graphs that no one seems to catch. I don't blame the readers. I blame the part where I waste time on needless, obscure references. So yeah, that's just fun. And so we get Aurora kind of traveling back. Us now trying to find her way back to the camp as she talks with the lizard. Us now. And starts to get a flashback of what happened. So now we go into the flashback and we see her floating down the Green River, just kind of relaxing, being happy, when the lizard gets attacked by this strangely colored lynx-looking cat. So this was kind of a fun thing of just coming up with the different wildlife in the Thousand Lands, giving them something that looks familiar, but that is a bit different. Much like with the tree rat. It's familiar, but just slightly different. So Aurora, we see, is running to save the little lizard and punts the cat, thus saving it. And then we see that we can see the cat now here, now that she's sober, and we see, nope, its color didn't change at all. It really was just that strangely colored. So that's just kind of a fun little joke in there. With everything being oddly colored, you expect to see the cat a different color, but no, that's just how it looked. So let me check something. And if we go and look at the lizard, we can see that its colors aren't quite as odd either. So that's just some fun stuff there. Oh, and I guess also the shading I'm doing on them. It looks like I'm shading either in a purple or a yellow. I'm not entirely sure. just making things look more odd. And so, Aurora figuring she just floated downstream, so they're traveling up and just having fun making the lizard do different little stuff as it crawls around and hangs off her and just enjoys living its life. Listen out, and so kind of making fun of the journey about figuring out what happened instead of a journey of self-discovery, a joke of a journey of self-discovery. So just some fun with that. So they travel, they find this little part where it looks like it would be easy to get down from up on the edge to into the water. So they go traveling up here. And Aurora's going to figure out what happened here. And we see that she decides to to save her pants by sliding down bare butt, which absolutely makes no sense. I know, because that would hurt a lot. And so we just see that impaired judgment effect going on. It's probably a good thing she can heal, otherwise she would have a raw butt. And so that's it's kind of up with that. You can see she's quite thoroughly embarrassed. Walking through, she's being grumpy. And then she realizes that, why were they traveling around? And, were they looking for someone or something? But hey, Aurora finds her boot. And so we get a flashback to the past, and we see on this wild-looking bat thing that Aurora tries to throw a shoe at, but it doesn't seem to do too much. So, just kind of explaining why she lost, kind of in the reverse of how she lost, I guess, her clothing, we can see, and stuff. We can see that that's what's going on there. And she kind of realizes that they were looking for the lizard's mom. And, lizards, they're great talkers. They can squeak, apparently. And so they continue on their journey, and they hear sounds coming, and that the lizard's quite excited. So they go looking, sneaking in, and they find it's Sarah Verge and Tyria. That the sound is actually some gizmo that Tyria has made. So we'll now find out what was up with them. And that there was something going on with that fish, and so that Tyria, in her, I guess you could say, intoxicated state, went wild with the creation stuff, and built a contraption to keep her cool or something like that. I'm not even entirely sure what it is. I think I'll call it the Ultra Relaxation Hammock-atron. And so that's kind of what's up with that. And we see that Sarah Verge really can't talk too much, that he lost his voice. We got just these nice little squibblies in there for his sound. So let me see if I explain to the next page before I get to that. Him still can't talk, and we get a little bit of kind of what's going on with that. We see what's up. And that night, and that the mama lizard came looking for her baby, found it, and now takes it away by crawling on the back. Much like, I guess, with alligators carrying their young. So just a little bit of, I guess, fun animal design there with stuff. We can see, based on the sizes, that this must be a really large lizard, given that this thing was crawling around on Aurora's arm, and it's riding on his back. We can assume that this thing is probably a couple of feet long. And we got that Aurora is streaking again. So a bit of humor with that. Alright, so looks like I don't explain it, so I'll go ahead and talk more about it there. Kind of the idea about how they reacted to the toxin in the fish had to do with it took aspects of their personality and just turned it up to a 11. So Aurora, wanting to help people, took that aspect of her personality, take that aspect as if it decides, but that's what what the toxin interacted with her, making it so she wanted to help this lizard, so she went on a wild adventure to help the lizard. With Tyria, it took her creativity and ingenuity and drove that wild, so she just all night rapidly built a crazy contraption, just in a state of creative fervor. And Sarah Verge took his grumpy nature and made him incredibly angry, taking everything out on the moon, just the sky in general. So nothing in particular, just made him incredibly grumpy, and so he just yelled until he couldn't yell anymore. So those were just kind of the loose rule of thumb as to how the toxins affected the characters and why they did what they did. So overall, like I said, this was just a fun little comedy story. I mean, nothing more to it. And yeah, we had some fun colors, some jokes, a streaking Aurora again, and yeah, and now we move on.
Alright, so Impassive Choices. I think this is perhaps one of my worst chapter pages I did. I really struggled actually to come up with a name for this chapter. It was kind of going to mark the end of the Thousand Lands adventures, and I really didn't have a good way, I guess, what to title this whole little ending of it. And so just kind of lean into things are changing. So we got the title Impassive Choices. So moving on. So we see that they're closer to the mainland here. And they're trying to find a way of how to get in and different stuff like that. And they're waiting till nightfall, still talking and figuring stuff out. And nighttime comes and they get set and ready to move. Not a whole lot. We see that I went with a nice blue for these trees going on. And so that's just been kind of, I guess that's just visually nice. We'll go with this nighttime travel. We got the moon up in the sky, the stars, and a gradient effect being applied on this water. It's a nice looking panel. They're quietly rowing so they don't use Aurora giving away their position for big light up wings. And until they get in close. You see here with the sunrise coming up. And she brings them into the island. And they quickly move the boat up into the tree so that they can hide. Taria's got that leaf from brushing the boat trail away, and so they don't think anyone could see. So hopefully no one saw them. They look quite tired and spent. So here they are, they're asleep, kind of using part of the boat as a shelter. Snoozing away, and we see some trolls come in for an ambush on them. Now, while it wasn't I would say it wasn't intentional. I'm trying to help differentiate the trolls that these, as we'll find out, are kind of like bad trolls or whatnot. I went with kind of more of a green, greenish blue skin for them, kind of like the Armani trolls in WoW. So that's just some visual shorthand to help separate them. And see them asleep, Aurora just rolls over and zoop, zoop. They get hit with knockout darts. And so they wake up, and everyone's been moved magically from their pajamas to their clothes. So that wasn't intentional on my part. That was an actual accident that I made there. So just a fun note of, accidents. That's how here's one of them. Alright, so we get this guy. So we saw this, I would say even a real character, but just this design way back at the start of Spirited Adventure with the Thousand Lands. And he was just kind of such a fun design that eventually got worked into a whole story and such. Some details that don't really get explained here is we see another attempt of a troll skull on my part. But this one I think has turned out much better. But this would actually be the skull of the previous chieftain
that he killed to take over. And we kind of are, through this story, able to find out what's going on, why the Allmeyer were able to invade Thousand Lands so successfully. And so we're going to get that, I guess, detailed here pretty soon. But we can see there is a Allmeyer agent here. The last Allmeyer agent we met was Diemter, way back in Street Stalkers. And so we see another one here. This and kind of indication that they're an Allmeyer agent or an intelligence spy agent or whatnot is the black kind of leathery looking trench coat that they wear. So that's just kind of a visual indication to show that she's part of the same divisional group that Diemter was. And so we see some kind of back and forth in between the traitor chieftain and the Allmeyer agent, that basically that the reason Allmeyer was able to get so far inland is that this island, which would usually be the one to intercept Allmeyer ships trying to sail out into the sea, turned coat and joined Allmeyer. And as such, the rest of the kingdom really didn't have a real strong defense network set up. So just kind of, that's how that happened. And we finally get that answer here. Now at the end of the Thousand Lands journey. So we just kind of get more back and forth going on here. So now with the trader chieftain talking to her and just kind of explaining some stuff going on. And we got just as how they're holding prisoners. They just suspend the cage over a bunch of spiky ropes. And that's just kind of where they're being held and how kind of that prison system works. I mean, it's just something different, just visually, I guess, a thing. But yeah, so that's going on. Listen now, so we feeding time, send up some kind of a fruit. I don't even know what that is. And they, of course, fake an argument by kicking Sarah Verge's cage around to help weaken it. So that nice little old trick. And so now that time has passed and night has come, it's time to put the plan into action, where Sarah Verge is now able to wiggle out of his newly broken cage. Good thing he can climb, so climb across the ropes, gets into the tree, and does a quick takedown of the guards here. So drops on one, grabs his knife, quickly cuts that guy's throat before stabbing this guy up into the jaw, and fake pretending that he's a friend, taking advantage that he's a troll. He looks like a troll silhouette. That's all someone can see, and that's it. Sarah Verge, he does what he does. So there's not a whole lot, I'd say, kind of going on in these early chapters, but it does feel kind of like there's, I guess, how to put it, maybe an imbalance in the flow. I'm not entirely sure, as we have yet another talk panel here, or page here, as they're getting their plans set up about how they're going to escape. And so he comes with Tyree and Aurora having to stay behind, while Sarah Verge does what he does. He sneaks off and get things done. Or does he? So we see that there's the Allmeyer agent who took out the guards. And now we have, I guess you could say, our midway hiccup where things aren't going quite according to plan, as they are now been intercepted by the Allmeyer agent. So we cut away to Sarah Verge. We see that he's sneaking around. And here I think I made a visual mistake, that he should have his hood up right here, but he doesn't, or in these pages. So that's another mistake on my part. But we can see he's been roughing some people up and different stuff, and goes in, finds their boat, and is kind of looking for their stuff in this compound when the Trader King pops up out of their boat. He's
not quite as stupid as one would assume. So we got that standoff, and we do cut away to this standoff to figure out here, and kind of the Almire agent lets them know about reminds us about Deemter, and that she knows who Aurora is, and we get a couple big chat bubbles here as they talk out and kind of explain their plans. And so get ready for a showdown. Come back here and we see how Cerverge's showdown is going. It's not going too good. The Traitor King gets a shot off on him. And this is to kind of create a bit of a, I guess you could say, a bit of a balance with the fight here. And that is that Cerverge is a very quick fighter. And so to help, level the playing field, but slide him back into a bit of a disadvantage, I bet he got injured here. So that's kind of in part why this happened, just I guess you could say from the narrative. I mean, from the writer's perspective, and the thing is, how do we create tension? Slow Cerverge down by having one of his weapons used against him. And the King readies the Traitor King readies his personal favorite weapon, a big old choppy blade. So we cut here. Back to them, Aurora's ready to hammer, and yeah, that's quite a surprise. But Tyria, she's not as helpless as she may have once been. So she pulls the knife away from her neck, or stops it from being able to be pulled, and hits the agent, drops down, and that hammer comes flying. And we get a nice explosion as it shatters the tree that was behind them. So this is just, I guess, a fun opportunity that we can take a look at, just again, reflecting on how, just over time, how my style and how I draw the hammer with the lightning now coming off the front of it, and explosions and different stuff got a lot more, I guess, call it a cloud effect to it. It just has really improved, I'd say, over the years, and this is looking more and more similar to how stuff nowadays looks. So we got here, so now Cerverge avoiding a blade, getting some punching in, trying to do what he can against this guy. And we see some fun maneuverability. I like this idea about how the King, he chops down, misses, but rather than raiding the blade, he just purses it forward and uses it to vault into a kick into Cerverge. So kind of that nice fighting flow that I enjoy trying to portray in my fights. And we come here back with them, and we see that the agent, that she's now in sneak mode, she's got her mask up, and kind of see they got kind of a ninja-like get up, very reminiscent of the sneak from way back in Gratz Transitions, that was when I first started the publication of Gratz. So very reminiscent of that, but they have a nose. Funny thing is, the sneak doesn't seem to have a nose, so that's just a fun little, I guess, how things have changed since then. Aurora pops off her sword, and we see that the agent deploys their sneaky blade, these nice little wrist blades, and that pop out and gets in a surprise attack. See Cerverge deploying food again in his fighting style, as the box that was cut earlier, he gets some oranges out of and throws those before trying to tackle the King and dislocates his knee. That's not attempting to just well on the King's head, but this injury now comes back into play as the King strikes at hurting Cerverge. So we see kind of the stuff that had happened earlier in the fight coming back into the fight to shift the balance of changes and such. And so this is one of those fights that I am kind of happy with, one of those regards. It's how stuff that happened earlier plays again later into the fight. It's not just ignored. So yeah, so just some fun stuff there. Now it's Tyria's turn to save or cover Aurora as she just tackles the Almire agent, throws a nice quick knee into the face. She calls her pink runt. I think I haven't quite come up with the
the slur for the elves that they would be used. I don't know if I've explained this yet, but kind of tying into how all these kingdoms, don't get along is they have kind of different slurs and nicknames for the individual races. So like trolls would be blueberries. I don't know if we've seen them call that yet, but this is perhaps the first indication we have of that, of them going by nickname. I think elves eventually changed to rabbits, kind of tying into how they got the big long ears and are on the thinner side when compared to most of the other races. But she's still a fighter, so she cuts Tyria's leg, dropping her, and then quickly listen now, hand springs away from Aurora, and we hear the kind of the drums rat. I don't know if they're like drums rattling, or sticks rattling, or whatnot, but that explosion, the fight has drawn attention, and so things are rapidly deteriorating for their situation, getting bad quickly. So we cut here. The king can't quite move as fast because his knee is dislocated, and so Ser Verge is trying to get to his gun. So the gun that we see that slowed Ser Verge down at the start, he's grabbed it, he's trying to get some ammo. The king is trying to close in. Ser Verge is popping open, loading the gun, and we get such as kind of a nice little demonstration of how his gun works. It's a over-under break barrel, puts in the new rounds, the king getting closer, and Ser Verge is able to get the rounds off, or load it and fire it before the king can get him, and so we get this nice little headshot mess here. And thus ends the Traitor King, or Traitor Chief. I keep changing what I call him. He doesn't even have a real name, but yeah. And so they're trying to figure out what to do. And Aurora's like, all right, calm down, Tyria. It'll be all right. So can't calm down. Tyria's still pretty new to a lot of this whole adventuring and fighting stuff. And Ser Verge, he's in a lot of pain. He's lost a lot of blood, I'd say, at this point. And just just trying to hide, get control, get into a safe spot as he hides in the canoe and hears Aurora out on the move. So Aurora, being Aurora, just blows open a big hole in the wall, creating a big dust cloud and different explosions and chaos, just trying to keep people away as she moves, or as they move, with just a hectic diversion. Everyone's make people scared to get close to her and make them confused as to what's going on. So they're able to escape and disappear kind of into town. And deploy, of course, the greatest disguise, blankets over the head. So kind of sneak around in these nice blankets, trying to figure out what they're going, and everything's going to be all right. So we get a nice little blanky hug here. They find where Ser Verge had collapsed, fix him up a bit. Listen, he's been hurt quite bad from that gunshot. I'd say, unlike a lot of injuries that they may take, this one I decided, for no real reason other than I needed Ser Verge, like I said, more incapacitated, was particularly a nasty hit. So yeah, that's just how that works. Plot demands the severity of injuries. So they stabilize Ser Verge, load stuff up. Tyria, of course, takes a fun chance on flirt by saying she'll play nurse with Ser Verge later. Aurora's got the wings out so she can drag the boat, and they're moving as fast as they can. And when you got a bright light attached to your back, people are going to notice you, so you better move quickly. Aurora, throwing out more explosions to slow people down and deter them. Out onto the water they go and escape to the mainland they move. And we see here that the Allmeyer agent, of course, survived and is watching them leave. So Aurora is back on the Allmeyer intelligence map.
So we come to the mainland, where they're on the mainland now. Don't have to hide, so just get their gear, abandon the boat. You can get into the trees and get away from the shore as fast as possible. So they're sitting back, finally getting a breather, trying to figure out still what they're going to do next. And Aurora decides that what she wants to do is she wants to try and help. She saw that the Thousand Land King, she remembers kind of what he said, that she was kind of in his dreams. He held the light and let it go, and it disappeared, but brought light to the world, and he didn't know where it went. And so she's kind of thinking that, maybe it's going to be maybe I'm responsible, but maybe I should set up trying to get the Thousand Land King and the Fearer King to talk things out and join and cooperate against their common enemy, which is Almire, at this point. So that would be a very unusual thing to occur, but, things are very unusual. This whole war is unusual, so, we'll have to see what's going on here, but it's not really at this point in the story that I really tried to push that the story is being in part driven, but Aurora is deciding what she wants to do, where they're going to go, and things like that. And so that's to kind of try to lean more into that she's not being led around by the old sage or whatnot or other people. It's, no, I have an objective and I want to accomplish that. So this kind of marks the shift, I'd say, a real driving point into that aspect of the story that will take us into the Kingdom of Fear and going forward in Graz. And so by this point, we're on page 1183. So we still got a lot to do going ahead, but this is just interesting. This is where that shift occurred.